Hello everybody, we are here today with Stephanie and Jean-Christophe from Ulysse Nardin, and we are here to talk about the Blast. The Blast Hour Striker, the newest and the most spectacular watch of this year and until now. Let's see what comes further. But for the moment, it's the most spectacular watch that Ulysse Nardin has to present us. So before we can go more into technical details, I will ask Jean-Christophe to make a short introduction of the watch so we know what we are talking about.
Hello Andre, it's a pleasure to share this moment with you. The Blast Hour Striker is a spin-off of the Blast that we have presented 1 year ago. Basically, the principle of the Blast is that it is a piece of architecture. And the piece is entirely skeletonized. And the idea is here really to enhance the technical content through transparency, through skeletonization. And we have tried to pursue this study with the Blast Hour Striker. And as you will see, and as you know already, our Striker is a chiming piece, typical of the Ulysse Nardin know-how. And the principle here is to show through a spectacular glass box what happens in a chiming complication. So if you are okay with that, what I suggest is that I show you a 1-minute video.
Yes, please.
Presenting the product, and then we can share and discuss around the principle that we have chosen for the development of the piece.
Yes, great. Let's see it.
Okay.
Quite a blast.
I agree. I think the piece is really spectacular. The principle is really to, in fact, express something that is three-dimensional. I'm going to present you just that slide. You see the picture on the left. So, of course, the case itself is the same as the Blast. So you will find this tessellated horns with facets. The glass box is quite impressive, and the movement, in fact, can be seen from the side of the case inside the glass box. The indexes are very high under the glass box. But of course, the most important about this piece is the content, and the content is an entire new development from Ulysse Nardin, a new caliber. As you know, we have, and I will maybe come into the architecture of the piece later. We have a tradition at Ulysse Nardin. A tradition that is important with chiming pieces. Rolf visited Rolf Schneider, the founder. The man was relaunched. Let's say, if I may say, Ulysse Nardin has visited Venice in 1992 with his future wife, Shai, during a romantic trip. And he has been impressed by the San Marco Cathedral with Jacquemart, with gongs. And he decided to launch a product like that. It was an old tradition in the industry in the past, and you know that after the quartz crisis period, this tradition has been lost in a large part of the industry. And he has launched some chiming pieces. And so we have a tradition with that. But basically, Ulysse Nardin has proposed many chiming pieces in the past through classical interpretations, classical cases, many times with automaton, with dials that hide what is inside the piece. And what we have tried to do here is to reinterpret entirely the concept of chiming pieces, but through a very futuristic and modern piece of architecture. So maybe we can enter more in detail into the principle of the movement. What do you think?
I'm very curious to find what were the challenges in bringing the entire striker mechanism on top, so on the dial side, to be visible, because it's not just skeletonized. My impression is that the entire movement was changed to push, not only see it from front to back, but to push from back to bring it on the upper side, to have it not just visible but as a highlight of the watch. What were the challenges in doing this?
Well, I'm going to show you one picture. Yes, basically, do you see the picture? Is it okay? Okay. Basically, what we have done during the first chiming pieces in the past that we have developed is that we have developed a complex module that we have added historically on ETA movement. And then when Ulysse Nardin is now an entirely verticalized manufacturer, we develop our own caliber. So here, the piece that you see is clearly an exclusive development from Ulysse Nardin. And the way we have worked is that we have tried to hybridate some technologies that we have in our product portfolio. So the principle has been to put all the chiming components on the top in order to be seen through the glass box. So this has been the first challenge. And the second challenge also has been that we wanted to add a tourbillon, and it was necessary to rethink entirely the architecture with the different components that we have in-house. So we have taken part of the components as a toolbox, and we have developed, let's say, 50% of specifically new components. We have entirely reversed, in fact, the architecture of the piece from the previous chiming pieces that we had. We have put the push buttons on the left. So it is something that is quite different. So the idea here is to display, in fact, a more futuristic interpretation with the spectacularity of a tourbillon and also the spectacularity of the racket that you can see on the top of the piece.
Besides clearly the very nice aesthetical view of this new mechanism, there is also some technical advantages. Also maybe from the sound perspective, or is just purely visual a nice thing to have?
No, we have, you are right, it's an important point. There is a clear competition inside the industry in the chiming pieces area with a kind of rebirth since a few years. And obviously, as a technical brand, as a manufacturer, we wanted to be part in that competition. So we wanted to improve the level of intensity and quality of the sound that we were proposing historically. So what we have done is that we have first the architectural principle, the fact that the gong is on the top under the glass box helps to the sound quality. But the most important, of course, is that we have developed an exclusive system with De Vialet. De Vialet is a company that is proposing very high-end speakers. It's a French company.
Yes.
It is very well known for the quality of the sound that you can find in its products. And we have worked in common with De Vialet engineers in order to improve the traditional hour striker. So what we have done is that we have added a specific system that is on the bottom of the caliber. What you see here on the screen with in blue color is the traditional gong ring with the tail gong. So this is, let's say, traditional. And we have added some new components. So you have a gong support that is linked to the tail gong, which is in brass. And this gong support is interfacing, in fact, with a system that is made of two elements. First, you have a transmission arm that is going to transmit the vibrations. And then there is, on the back of the piece, a membrane that it's difficult to represent in the screen. It's in fact in the drawing that you see in the middle, in gray. It is a membrane in titanium. And this membrane in titanium is first protected by a skeletonized back that you see on the left for waterproofness. And then on the right, protected by a traditional case back that is opened. And this membrane is very, very thin. Is 10 millimeters. And there is a small point of contact between the transmission arm and the membrane. So when the gong is ringing, it is transmitted to the interface, then to the transmission arm, and then to the membrane that is vibrating on all the surface of the caseback. And the fact that you are able to bring more surface allows, in fact, a better level of performance for the piece. We have also a possibility to set the membrane with a small horn that you see here. I don't know if you see my mouse.
Yes, I can see it.
So it's a very, very small screw. And in fact, you set the membrane with that screw in order to address the right level of quality for the sound.
So you are fixing the case back to the normal case, and the membrane is fixed to the case back separately with screws, if I understand well from the pictures. And you are creating between the titanium membrane and the back on the case back, you are creating an acoustic chamber that acts as a resonator once, and second as an amplifier, mechanical amplifier.
Exactly. And from what I understood with the discussions we had with the Vialet engineers, in fact, the system is close in its principle with the system of a speaker. And we have, of course, made a lot of tests internally in our laboratory and with them in order to adjust and work specifically on the sound quality.
A question is regarding the flying tourbillon. Is of course a very nice complication, and nice to have a very sorted complication in watches. It brings some advantages to the entire design, or it is just a nice to have an increase in difficulties of an already very difficult piece?
Well, there is no direct link between the addition of the tourbillon and the performance, if I may say, the sound performance of the piece. the idea behind the addition of the tourbillon, in fact, is, if I may say, to increase the spectacularity level of the watch, and also to compensate, if I may say, the fact that comparing with the previous classical and traditional pieces that we used to propose, we are removing the automaton. We remove the jacquemart, the automaton, because we want to remove the dial, because we want to give the opportunity to the owner of the piece to enjoy the spectacularity of the mechanics, and we add the tourbillon in order to bring something that is constantly moving inside the piece, in fact.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, the entire watch is it's under vibration when the gong sounds. So that means that also the balance wheel is affected by the vibration of the gong. So if you have a flying tourbillon, that means you can minimize the impact on the chronometric performance using a flying tourbillon, especially when the times when the chiming is activated.
Yes, correct. But you are right, and it's a good point. And the tourbillon helps to the chronometrical compensation, if I may say, of the impact of the vibration. But it is an advantage that is not decisive, if I may say. So this has not been the main reason why we have chosen the addition of the tourbillon. And I believe that it is important for me to share the reasons that are behind our choice, because the real ones, in the past, Ulysse Nardin was always proposing, the best-in-class solutions in terms of technical performance. And the principle that we are choosing more and more is to rebalance this, let's say, cultural mindset of very exclusive technical performance with a very strong design proposal. And we believe that this combination is very important today. So very often now when we take some decisions, we also take them not only for technical performance, but also because we believe that each Ulysse Nardin piece should be a piece of architecture, something that brings an impression of three-dimensional explosion, if I may say, due to the name blast, in fact. The inner strength of the movement should really express something very strong. So the design purpose is also something very important to us.
If you mentioned De Vialet, and for those who are following the brand should know that this is not the first collaboration with De Vialet. You had in 2019 the Hour Striker Phantom, which is a very beautiful watch. So behind the technical background and the innovation behind the watch, it's a beautiful watch with a very interesting dial and design. And more than sure, you had a lot of experience, also some things that you learned from this collaboration. Yes. There are some points, some lesson learned from this first design that was applied in the Hour Striker, in the Blast Hour Striker.
Yes, we have learned many things, in fact, through the launch of this first proposal. For example, we have modified, adapted, and improved, in fact, the principle, the concept itself. So the arm dimension, for example, has been improved. We have had more time to do a lot of tests after this first limited edition that we have launched with them. For example, the addition of the small screw that is in the case back is something that is coming from the experience that we have taken from the classic Fantôme de Vialet that we have developed together. It was not part of the first limited edition that we have done. So it's a learning process. With the first edition, we have raised a certain level of intensity that was quite spectacular. Mm-hmm. What we have tried to do with that piece is maybe to work on a better synthesis between intensity and sound quality. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, it is a new step that we have taken in terms of final proposal. We are able to bring something that is maybe more balanced. In fact, you have
yes.
You will find all the poetry of the classical sound, but the technology brings the level of intensity that is quite impressive. In fact.
Looking at your technical drawings, I was not surprised, but a little bit surprised, I have to admit, that you use for the transmission of the sound between the traditional gong and the titanium membrane, you use a brass piece. Brass is known as a relative weak material because it's used for watchmaking because of the finishes that can be applied. And why was not, for instance, titanium used, which is much stronger and in theory it should conduct better the sound than the brass?
Well, it's difficult for me to answer that question because it's clearly, a notion that is very complex, that sound engineers are able to answer, but not me. But what I can say is that we have, of course, tried different type of materials. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, is that in the choice that they have made at the manufacturer, in fact, you have two challenges. There is the material that will allow a better vibration, if I may say. And the material that will allow a better transmission without distortion, if I may say.
Exactly.
And I believe that brass has been taken for that reason. I mean, it's really just a kind of passive interface between the gong and the titanium part, and particularly the membrane. In fact, what brings the improvement is the couple between the arm and the membrane. The membrane that is slightly touching the transmission arm. This couple is the key couple, if I may say, in the sound improvement process. The other components are more here for passive transmission, and they are here for architectural reasons, because the gong has been placed on the top, and for obvious reasons. We have chosen to put the membrane on the back of the movement because we did not want to hide the movement itself.
Does the black DLC brought something in the sound characteristic of the membrane, or it was just used as a finish to highlight the front gong and the front mechanism?
What is favorable to the sound is the fact that the membrane is in titanium. The black DLC is the treatment is just here for design purpose, and what we wanted is to play between the contrasts between the black color and the, let's say, the polish aspect of the gold case and the polish aspect of some components. When you have a black background, if I may say, it enhances by contrast the decoration of the key components of the movement itself.
So that means the use of a case band in black titanium and applied gold on top and bottom is just cosmetic purpose to have a balance between the inner side of the watch and the outside aspects of the watch.
Well, I will say that for the sound quality, the choice of titanium, of course, helps. But what is the most efficient here is the Viallet system. So we could have done the piece, for example, the case entirely in gold. What we have chosen is to combine materials and colors because we believe that on one side it is allowing a stronger design proposal. The material contrast and combination is more spectacular. And there is also another element that is important to us, is that this chiming piece is proposed at a price of around 19,000 euros, 90,000 euros, sorry. And this is quite affordable, if I may say, for this type of piece. I mean, you have our striker chiming movement with a flying tourbillon, manufacture movement, silicium technology. So the price notion has always been also taken in consideration in the development process.
Of course.
What we want to do is to put the expensive material at the right place, if I may say. And so it is part of the choice. We always try to do the best choice, in fact, for the end consumer, combining the different aspects, the technical performance, the design spectacularity, and also the price.
And a last question is more about the beautiful side of the Blast Hour Strike It, and we are talking about the integration of the X, which is the, let's say, the trademark of the Blast collection, and also very visible in the last pieces from Ulysse Nardin. How complicated was to build the entire movement around this X shape, because it's clear that it's intended to have the X shape. Not only as a apply X on the top, but the entire movement to be around this X shape that you have in the Blast collection.
You're right, this has been a challenge also, because we really wanted to place that X signature inside the watch. The reason why is that, in one word, the X for us is the disruption signature, the disruption code that we play with. And with this development, we have taken a very classic and traditional piece, and we have turned it into a very futuristic and modern proposal, and we wanted to place that signature. So we have chosen to design the tourbillon cage with this X, but what has been maybe more difficult has been to place the X on the top of the caliber. We didn't want to hide, obviously, the shining caliber, so we have chosen to place this X with three-dimensional indexes that are, if I may say, in a certain manner, flying on the top of the movement. And let's say this simple, in appearance, piece, this flange, in fact, and indexes are very, very difficult to produce, obviously, because they are very thin. They fly on the top of the caliber. They are cutted, and of course, you need to place them in order to let the hands moving without being, let's say, without the interference of the indexes. So, in fact, the number of levels that you have inside the layers that you have inside the piece is quite important, knowing that in fact you have only 16 millimeters width for the piece. So it's not so high, in fact. So you have a lot of content with many layers in a three-dimensional perspective to place in the construction of the piece.
So I think the Ulysse Nardin really will make a blast with this Hour Striker. It's a very beautiful piece and a very interesting technical. As usual, and now usual, is that Ulysse Nardin is using extreme materials in very interesting ways, and I am really curious what the future will bring, because this is already sounds very good. Jean-Christophe, I want to thank you for taking the time to explaining the piece for us, and also Stephanie, thank you very much for your time presenting this.
It was a pleasure. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.